The era of the 1950s celebrated classic femininity, where even a trip to the grocery store felt like a fashion moment full of grace. There were cinched-in waistlines, full circle skirts, and even pearls were worn to a simple trip to the grocery store. So in today's video, we're going to take a little trip back to the 1950s, which was one of the classiest eras of fashion of all time. So let's dive right in. So as usual, before we dive into today's video, let's talk about my outfit for today. Now this particular dress is directly in line with my video about celebrating the era of the 1950s, and it begins with this beautiful pink dress with this white collar. I love, love, love this dress. I got this dress at a resale shop here in Atlanta called Labels, and it has these beautiful pearl buttons down the front of the dress. As they did in the 1950s, it also has a beautiful cinched-in waistline with a wide skirt, and I think this dress is so lovely. It is perfect for the spring season, and it also has the two pearl buttons right here on the sleeve with this kind of rolled up cuff, which I think is really elegant and just beautiful. This is one of my favorite dresses to wear in the springtime. It is lightweight, and so you're not going to be sweaty or perspiring or anything, but it just gives you that classic yet simple but elegant look. This is my outfit for today. Okay, ladies, so welcome back to the channel. Now, have you ladies ever noticed anything different when looking back on photographs of how women dressed in the 1950s? No matter whether they were just walking down the street, going shopping, or even going to the grocery store, there was a simple elegance and grace that feels very rare today. And it wasn't just about the dresses or the pearls or the gloves that they wore. There was a mindset behind how the women of the 1950s presented themselves to the public. So let's talk about some simple yet very important details that made all the difference when it comes to looking elegant. Now, the first detail that I want to talk about that made all the difference to the women in the 1950s is dressing with intentionality for everyday life. Now, I wanted to put a little picture over here on the screen. Do you ladies remember, any of you ladies remember dressing like this as a little girl? Now, I certainly remember wearing these type of dresses, whether it was going to church and sometimes going to school, where you wore the white, I think they were called bobby socks, with black patent leather shoes and these little dresses. So even as a child, you were dressing with intentionality back in those days. The reason I wanted to talk about dressing with intentionality that the women had back in the 1950s is because of what we see today. So whether you're going to the grocery store or you are going to meet up at a restaurant with a friend, or maybe you're just going for a cup of coffee, do you put yourself together in a way that is intentional to look presentable to the public? Or do you throw on a pair of sweats or some track pants, or maybe you even go in your pajamas and you think that is suitable to the public eye? And again, I don't want to sound like I am being judgmental in this video, but we are talking about the elegance of the 1950s and how they dress differently. So with regard to that, going to the grocery store in your pajamas or going out for a cup of coffee and you're still in your pajamas, this was not something that they did in the 1950s. They were dressing with pure intentionality because, number one, when you're out and about, you never know who you're going to bump into. You may actually bump into someone that you think very highly of and someone who thinks very highly of you. And if you just jumped out of the bed, you didn't take time to put your hair together or even dress suitable to put yourself into the public, then this may change the opinion of that person who once had a very high opinion of how you put yourself together. So it's super important to dress with intentionality no matter where you're going. It could be going to church, of course, you're going to dress with intentionality. Going to the grocery store, going to meet a friend for lunch, or even going for a walk. There are things that you can put on that makes you look intentional for that specific occasion. So this was something that made the difference to the women in the 1950s. Now, the next detail that made the difference in women looking polished, elegant, and put together in the 1950s were their accessories. Now, if you ladies have been on my channel for quite some time, I always talk about how accessories can elevate a very simple outfit. And I am a person who wears a lot of neutral colors, so I use accessories all the time to elevate my outfit because my colors are very neutral and also very basic. Accessories mattered to the women in the 1950s. And they also wore gloves, which would elevate a basic dress. Say, for example, the dress that I am wearing right now. The women in the 1950s would accessorize this particular dress with most likely a pair of white gloves and maybe some type of hat. The accessories are super important when it comes to looking more polished and put together. Now, the other element of accessories that I believe can elevate your outfit are sunglasses, necklaces, your rings, your earrings. Accessories matter when it comes to looking more polished. And also, I don't want to forget to include belts. Many of the women back in the 1950s wore the wide band belts, and they would cinch in the waistline, and they were very attractive. So no matter what type of dress you wore, if you wore the type of belt that would cinch in your waistline, you would look more polished and put together, and it would also make your outfit look more intentional. Now, I know that in today's era, there is a mindset to be comfortable, and there is nothing wrong with comfort. But again, if you're looking to be intentional and you are looking to look more polished and put together, the oversized dresses and things that don't cinch in your waistline, they do not make you look polished and put together. And once again, it depends on what you are trying to achieve. And even if you have a wider waistline, when you put on a belt that cinches in your waistline, it's going to accentuate your curves, thus making you look more feminine. The other thing that I really loved about the era of the 1950s when it comes to accessories is a lot of women back in that era wore pearls. And today, I think some people think that pearls are old-fashioned or maybe they've gone out of style. But in my personal opinion, pearls will never go out of style. Pearls will always elevate an outfit. Now, I do say that the best thing to have is simple pearls where you're not doing too much around your neckline. And simple pearls just give you that enhancement of looking more polished, as well as simple earrings. And always with jewelry, when it comes to accessorizing, is you never want to overdo it. Now, the next detail that women paid attention to in the 1950s were their dresses. They wore dresses with cinched in waistlines. Now, I am not saying that women in the 1950s did not wear pantsuits or they didn't wear pants at all, because they did, but most of what you saw when you look at photographs from the 1950s are women wearing dresses with cinched in waistlines. Now, I do have a very small waistline, but this particular dress does accentuate my waistline because it has a wider skirt with a little bit of pleated detail in the front. So they wore dresses similar to what I am wearing, which gave them a very feminine yet elegant silhouette. And there are other ways, again, that you can do this with accessories like belts. Now, the next detail that the women in the 1950s paid careful attention to were their hairstyles. Whether long or short, women paid attention to their hairstyles. And some of these hairstyles were like pin-up curls, if you ladies remember those type of hairstyles, but they were very structured type of haircuts, thus making them look more elegant. They made them look more edgy type of hairstyles. And it was just a very interesting way that the women back in that era wore their hairstyles. And some of the women had what is called the bouffant, I believe, hairstyles. But no matter whether it was a long hairstyle or a short hairstyle, they paid attention to the details of how they wore their hair. And so one of the things that I think we can learn from the era of the 1950s is it doesn't really matter the brand of clothing that you're wearing. What really matters is the fit, how you put yourself together, and also whether or not you are taking care of your grooming to make yourself look presentable to the public eye. Now, the fifth detail that women back in the 1950s paid attention to was their posture. Good posture is always going to make the difference when it comes to looking more graceful, more elegant, and more put together. And the women back in the 1950s just seemed to exhibit posture in a way that just looked graceful without even trying. And if you ladies have watched my previous videos, I did a whole video on posture and how it can either make or break your outfits. Posture is extremely important no matter what you're wearing. And when it comes to looking more graceful, the way that you stand, even when you are talking to someone, is going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference in whether or not they take you seriously, or also whether or not you are a person that they can say, wow, she's got herself put together. And the other thing I think the women back in the 1950s knew was that fashion was not just about trends, but it was about expressing grace in how they spoke, in how they walk, and in how they carried themselves in the public eye. So if I give you one takeaway from today's video, it would be that styles will always change over time, but true elegance will never go out of fashion. Okay, ladies, so that is all I have to share in today's video. Let me know your thoughts and comments about the era of the 1950s, the fashion. Did you love it? Did you not like that era? Let me know your comments in the comment section down below. And once again, if you are just landing on my channel for the very first time, my name is Teresa, and this channel is all about leveling up and becoming more elegant and more graceful. And if you're interested in that, please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and join our community of women that are becoming more elegant and more graceful. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.